Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Podcast Every Day.
We are so glad you are here with us today.
Today, we are discussing whether failure is necessary for success.
This is a powerful topic because everyone wants to succeed, but nobody enjoys failing.
Exactly, and failure can feel disappointing, but it can also teach us what practice, advice, and easy success cannot always teach.
And for English learners, this topic is perfect for discussing growth, resilience, mistakes, and motivation.
We will learn natural phrases for talking about setbacks, lessons learned, improvement, and moving forward.
You will hear two realistic conversations where people handle failure in a mature and useful way.
We will also compare simple B1 sentences with stronger B2 English for explaining mistakes and progress.
So imagine you did not pass an exam, missed a goal, lost an opportunity, or made a mistake at work.
Let us begin with the key language for talking about failure as part of growth.
Before our first conversation, let us learn how to talk about failure, success, and learning in a balanced way. Failure is a sensitive word because it can sound personal.
Yes, if someone says, "I failed," they may feel embarrassed, disappointed, or worried about what others think.
But failure does not always mean the end of the story.
Exactly, in many cases, failure gives information. It shows what needs to change, improve, or be practiced more carefully.
Our first key phrase is learn from failure. This means use a mistake or setback to understand what to do better next time.
For example, I did not pass the interview, but I learned from failure and prepared better for the next one.
Another example is, good teams learn from failure instead of blaming one person.
Our second phrase is setback. A setback is a problem that delays progress but does not necessarily stop it forever.
For example, losing one client was a setback, but the business recovered.
Or getting a low score on one practice test is a setback, not proof that you cannot improve.
Our third phrase is trial and error. This means trying different methods, making mistakes, and improving through experience.
For example, learning a new skill often involves trial and error.
Another example is, we found the best study routine through trial and error.
Our fourth phrase is room for improvement. This means something is not terrible, but it can become better.
For example, my presentation was not a failure, but there is room for improvement.
Or the project had good ideas, but there was room for improvement in the planning.
Our fifth phrase is bounce back. To bounce back means recover after a mistake, disappointment, or setback.
For example, she did not get the job, but she bounced back and applied again.
Another example is, a strong learner knows how to bounce back after making mistakes.
Notice that we are not saying failure is fun or that people should try to fail.
Right, we are saying that failure can become useful if we reflect, adjust, and keep going.
A common mistake is saying failure is good. That sounds too simple.
A better sentence is, failure can be useful when it helps us identify what needs to improve.
In our first conversation, Michael and Nicole discuss a disappointing exam result and how to respond to it constructively. Now let us listen to Michael and Nicole discuss an exam setback and how to learn from failure.
Nicole, can I be honest? I am really disappointed about my exam result.
I am sorry, Michael. What happened?
I studied for weeks, but I still did not get the score I needed.
That is frustrating. It sounds like a real setback.
It feels like more than a setback. It feels like proof that I am not good at this.
I understand why it feels that way. But one result does not define your ability.
Maybe, but I do not know what to do next.
Could you look at the result as information instead of a final judgment?
What do you mean?
Maybe the score shows where there is room for improvement.
I guess my listening score was okay, but my writing score was much lower.
That is useful information. It means you do not need to change everything.
So I should focus on writing instead of starting from zero.
Exactly. That is how you learn from failure.
I still feel embarrassed, though.
That is normal. But embarrassment does not have to control the next step.
I like that. It gives me a little distance from the feeling.
What did you do to prepare for writing last time?
Mostly reading model answers and memorizing phrases.
Did you practice writing under time pressure?
Not enough. I avoided it because it made me nervous.
That might be the lesson. The failure showed you what your practice was missing.
So it was trial and error, but I only tried one method.
Right. Now you can try a different method.
Maybe I should write 2 timed essays each week and ask for feedback.
That sounds practical. You could also review the feedback and make a list of repeated mistakes.
Then I would know exactly what to work on.
Yes, that is how a setback becomes a plan.
I still wish I had passed the first time.
Of course. Learning from failure does not mean pretending it feels good.
It means using it instead of staying stuck in it.
Exactly. And I think you can bounce back if you change the strategy.
Thanks, Nicole. I feel disappointed, but I also feel clearer.
That is a good place to start.
Let us analyze how Michael and Nicole turned an exam setback into a practical learning plan. Michael started by saying he was disappointed about his exam result.
That is honest and natural. When something goes badly, it is okay to describe the feeling first.
Nicole called the result a setback, not a total failure.
That word matters. A setback is serious, but it still leaves space for recovery.
Michael said it felt like proof that he was not good at this.
That is a common reaction, but Nicole gently corrected the idea by saying one result does not define your ability.
That phrase is very useful. One result does not define your ability.
Nicole also asked him to see the result as information instead of a final judgment.
That is a strong mindset shift. Information helps you decide what to do next.
They found room for improvement in writing, not in every skill.
That made the problem smaller and more manageable.
Michael also realized that his old method was incomplete. He read model answers, but he did not practice enough under time pressure.
That is trial and error. He tried one method, got a result, and then adjusted the method.
The new plan was specific: 2 timed essays each week, feedback, and a list of repeated mistakes.
That is much stronger than simply saying, "I will try harder."
Try harder is vague. Change the strategy is more useful.
The key line was, learning from failure does not mean pretending it feels good.
Exactly. It means using the experience instead of staying stuck in it.
The big pattern is feel the disappointment, find the lesson, change the strategy, and keep going.
Now let us learn how to discuss resilience, smart risk, and the difference between useful failure and avoidable failure. In the first half, we focused on how failure can teach us lessons.
Now we need a more advanced idea. Not every failure is useful in the same way.
Some failures come from trying something new, testing an idea, or taking a reasonable risk.
Other failures happen because of poor planning, ignoring feedback, or repeating the same mistake without reflection.
Our first new phrase is take a calculated risk. This means take a risk after thinking carefully about the possible benefits and problems.
For example, starting a small project on the side can be a calculated risk if you plan the time and budget.
Another example is applying for a higher position is a calculated risk if you understand the requirements and prepare well.
Our second phrase is build resilience. Resilience is the ability to recover, adapt, and continue after difficulty.
For example, handling feedback calmly can help you build resilience.
Or small setbacks can build resilience if you respond with reflection and action.
Our third phrase is constructive feedback. Constructive feedback is advice that helps you improve, not just criticism that makes you feel bad.
For example, constructive feedback tells you what was unclear
and how to make it clearer.
Another example is I asked for constructive feedback after the project failed to meet the deadline.
Our fourth phrase is adjust your approach. This means change your method after seeing what did not work.
For example, if your study plan is not working, adjust your approach instead of giving up.
Or, after the first presentation went poorly, I adjusted my approach and practiced with a smaller audience.
Our fifth phrase is fail forward. This means use a failure to move toward a better version, not simply repeat the same mistake.
For example, we failed forward by using the customer complaints to redesign the service.
Or a learner fails forward when each mistake leads to a clearer study plan.
A common mistake is saying, "You must fail to succeed," as if failure automatically creates success.
A better version is failure can support success when people reflect, get feedback, and adjust their approach.
That sentence is more accurate because it explains the process.
In our second conversation, Adam and Sky discuss a failed project and how to use feedback to improve the next attempt.
Now Adam and Sky will discuss a project failure, constructive feedback, and how to adjust their approach.
Sky, I am worried about the project review tomorrow.
Because the first version did not work as expected.
Yes, we took a calculated risk with the design, but the users found it confusing.
That is disappointing, but at least we tested it early.
I know, but it still feels like we failed.
We did fail in one sense. The design did not meet the goal.
That sounds painful, but true.
But the useful question is, what did the failure show us?
It showed that people did not understand the first screen.
That is constructive information.
I guess so. We also got constructive feedback from the test group.
What feedback came up more than once?
They said the instructions were too long, and the main button was hard to find.
That gives us a clear direction. Shorter instructions and a more visible button.
So we should adjust our approach instead of defending the old design.
Exactly. Defending a weak idea wastes time. Improving it builds resilience.
I like that. Resilience is not pretending everything went well.
Right. It is facing the problem and still moving forward.
Do you think we should mention that the design failed in the review?
Yes, but professionally. We can say, the first version did not meet our usability goal.
That sounds better than we completely failed.
Exactly. Then we add what we learned.
We learned that users need shorter instructions and a clearer main action.
Good. Then we add the next step.
We will redesign the first screen and test it again this week.
Perfect. That is failing forward.
Failure lesson, adjustment next test.
Exactly. That is a strong project update.
I feel less defensive now.
Good. Defensive language usually tries to hide the problem. Professional language explains the problem and the solution.
So tomorrow, I should not apologize for everything. I should explain what happened and what we are changing.
Exactly. Take responsibility, show the lesson, and present the next step.
Thanks, Sky. I think we can turn this into a better version.
We can. The first version failed, but the project is still moving forward.
Let us compare simple failure sentences with more natural B2 English for discussing mistakes, setbacks, and success. A B1 speaker might say, "I failed, so I am bad."
The feeling is understandable, but the sentence is too final and too personal.
A better sentence is, "I had a setback, so I need to understand what went wrong."
A stronger B2 version is, "This result is disappointing, but it gives me useful information about where I need to improve."
That sentence accepts the feeling but does not stop at the feeling.
Another B1 sentence is, "Failure is good."
That sounds too simple. Failure is not automatically good.
A better version is, "Failure can be useful when it leads to reflection, feedback, and a better strategy."
Can be is a useful softener because it shows possibility, not a universal rule.
Let us talk about hedging. Phrases like "in many cases," "can," "may," "might," and if handled well, make your argument more accurate.
Compare everyone must fail to succeed with, in many cases, setbacks can help people build resilience and adjust their approach.
The second sentence is more careful, more realistic, and more professional.
Now a grammar fix. Say, learn from failure, not learn failure.
For example, I learned from failure and changed my strategy.
Another grammar fix is, I failed the exam, not I failed in the exam, for most everyday situations.
You can also soften it by saying, I did not get the score I needed.
For B2 English, use a balanced structure. Failure is painful, but it can show what needs to improve.
Then add your conclusion. That is why failure can support success when it leads to action.
The goal is to sound realistic, not overly negative and not unrealistically positive.
Balanced English helps you talk about failure with honesty, maturity, and hope.
Let us review the vocabulary, grammar, and conversation strategies from today's episode about failure and success. Today, we learned how to discuss whether failure is necessary for success.
The main goal is to avoid extremes and explain how failure can become useful through reflection and action.
From the first part, remember, learn from failure, setback, trial and error, room for improvement, and bounce back.
In Conversation 1, Michael and Nicole discussed a disappointing exam result and turned it into a specific study plan.
They learned that one result does not define ability and that a setback can show where there is room for improvement.
From the second part, remember, take a calculated risk, build resilience, constructive feedback, adjust your approach, and fail forward.
In Conversation 2, Adam and Sky discussed a project that did not meet its goal and used feedback to improve the next version.
We compared B1 and B2 language. B1 says, failure is good. B2 says, failure can be useful when it leads to reflection, feedback, and a better strategy.
For grammar, remember to say learn from failure, not learn failure.
Also remember, say I failed the exam or soften it with, I did not get the score I needed.
A strong failure discussion has 4 parts. Name what happened, identify the lesson, adjust the strategy, and take the next step.
The main lesson is that failure does not automatically create success, but it can support success when it leads to useful action.
Balanced English helps you talk about mistakes and setbacks with honesty, confidence, and a clear path forward. That is all for today's episode of English Podcast Every Day.
We hope you feel more confident discussing failure, success, and growth in English.
This week, practice one balanced sentence about a setback or mistake.
Try saying, this result is disappointing, but it shows me where I need to improve.
If this episode helped you, subscribe and listen again to practice the vocabulary, rhythm, and pronunciation.
Remember, failure is not the whole story. What you do next matters most.
Thanks for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.